Putri Serindang Bulan. Putri Serindang Bulan is a folk tale from Bengkulu. Once upon a time, in the Bengkulu area, there lived a king named Mawang who was domiciled in Lebong. King Mawang has 6 sons and a daughter. They are Ki Gete, Ki Tagu, Ki Ain, Ki Jenain, Ki Geting, Ki Karangnio, and Putri Serindang Bulan. When he was in his old age and could no longer carry out royal duties, King Mawang appointed his 6th son, Ki Karangnio, who had the title Sultan Abdullah, to replace him. Not long after Ki Karangnio served as king, King Mawang died. After the death of King Mawang, there was a temptation between his sons and daughter to do leprosy suffered by Putri Serindang Bulan. The disease appeared every time a king came to propose to him. As a result, the engagement is always cancelled. Surprisingly, if the engagement is cancelled, the leprosy disappears. The incident did not happen once, but was repeated 9 times. This incident became a disgrace to the royal family. Therefore, Putri Serindang Bulan's 6 sisters held the meeting to find a way to erase this disgrace. One day, the 6 Serindang Bulan sisters held a secret meeting. The meeting resulted in a decision that they had to solve Serindang Bulan because it was a source of trouble for the kingdom. One of them declared Karangnio. Karangnio is indeed the closest to Serindang Bulan. However, with his refusal, Karangnio actually got the task of realizing Serindang Bulan. The 5 brothers asked for evidence in the form of a blood tube and slices of Serindang Bulan's ear, as a sign that she had sawn it. With a heavy heart, Karangnio fulfills the request of his brother. One day, Karangnio took Serindang Bulan for a walk. Initially, Serindang Bulan was not suspicious, but gradually Serindang Bulan was afraid because Karangnio invited her to enter the forest. Karangnio looks very restless. Finally, he told Serindang Bulan that he had the task to describe it. If it has become your decision, then do your job, sis, said Serindang Bulan sadly. Karangnio finally decided to trick his brothers. He slaughtered a coyote. He kept the coyote's blood in a tube. Then he injured Serindang Bulan's ear. The ears of the Serindang princess will be broke by him as proof that he has carried off his daddy to get rid of him. Karangnio ordered Serindang Bulan to go on a raft from the Ulau Deus River. Karangnio immediately returned to the palace. Arriving at the palace, he saw evidence of a blood vessel and ears of Serindang Bulan to his brother. All of her brothers were happy. While in the forest, Serindang Bulan went on a raft of the river. He finally came down to the Muara 1 year area. There, Serindang Bulan climbed a cliff. On the cliff, the princess made a house for her to live in. A year has passed since Serindang Bulan left in palace. Once upon a time, about belonging to Raja Indrapura named Tuanku Raja Alam passed through Muara setahun. The king saw a shining light from the top of the hill. Out of curiosity, the king pulled over and then got off the boat. He then climbed the cliff from the source of the gleaming light. Arriving at the top of the waterfall, the king saw a house. The king knocked on the door of the house. From the house, Serindang Bulan emerged with surprise the king. "Oh, beautiful girl, I did not think that the like of the cliff was actually from you," said the king. After getting acquainted, Serindang Bulan, this doctor then recounted what happened to her. The story of Serindang Bulan moved the king to tears and then invited him to live in the Indrapura kingdom. Serindang Bulan agreed. Arriving at the Indrapura kingdom, the king held a meeting. The king told about the problem of Serindang Bulan. The king proposed to Serindang Bulan. The royal kings proposed to look at the situation for 3 days to see if Serindang Bulan's face would turn bad again. After waiting for 3 days, it turns out that Serindang Bulan's face is still beautiful. Finally, the rulers married the king to Serindang Bulan. The headman asked the king to tell Serindang Bulan. The king then sent a messenger to Raja Wawang place to tell him about the wedding plans of Serindang Bulan with Raja Alam. Hearing the news, Serindang Bulan's brothers were shocked. They blamed Karangniu for failing to fill Serindang Bulan. "Never mind, my brothers, stop fighting us. We recommend that we go together to Serindang Bulan's wedding," said Karangniu. The Karangniu brothers finally said yes. Then the 6 sisters departed. When they arrived in the Indrapura kingdom, they immediately met my lord the king of Natur. The 6 sisters asked for a dowry in the form of gold as a condition for marrying their younger brother Serindang Bulan. Raja Alam agreed to the dowry request of the 6 sisters, but on one condition: they had to identify their own sister Serindang Bulan. If not, then they will all be punished. The king then prepared 6 girls who were dressed and their face resembled Serindang Bulan. They were confronted by the 6 sisters of Serindang Bulan. The 6 Serindang Bulan sisters were asked to show the real Serindang Bulan. The 5 sisters were confused because they didn't know the real Serindang Bulan. But Karangniu remembered that he had injured Serindang Bulan's ear. And sure enough, there is one girl who has a scar on her ear, which means she is the real Serindang Bulan. Finally, the daughter of Serindang and Karangniu hiked her wheel crying, letting go of homesickness. "Very nice, that means you still recognize Serindang Bulan. I will fulfill the dowry by giving the gold you wish. I assume there is no longer any grudge between you," said the king. Finally, Tuanku Raja Alam married Serindang Bulan. Meanwhile, the 6 sisters equipped a bamboo jar filled with gold. Serindang Bulan doesn't hold a grudge against her brother at all. Even though he was married and lived apart from his brother, he still often sent them gifts.